Hi, I'm Kshitij Pandey from KJSMA School of Engineering, and this is a video presentation for my DevOps IA1. The tool that has been selected is Gradle. So, as we know, in a DevOps lifecycle, various phases are available, such as plan, code, build, test, release, deploy, operate, and monitor. Gradle lies in the build phase of DevOps lifecycle. So what is Gradle? It is an open source build automation tool. It works with Java, Android, Kotlin, and many other languages. It handles dependency management and incremental builds. It easily integrates with Jenkins, Docker, and Kubernetes. The build file name is build.gradle. This is the main configuration file wherein all the plugins, dependencies, and other project structure has been clearly mentioned. So the presentation workflow would be we will use Gradle in a Spring Boot project with an IntelliJ IDEA. We'll build and run the code using Gradle commands. In order to check if our build and run has been successful or not, we'll create an REST API and run it. So let's get started with the presentation. In order to start with the Spring Boot project, we have to go to Spring Initializer. Over here, we have chosen Gradle in a groovy style as our build tool. Gradle, language is Java, Spring Boot version. The project metadata basically contains the details of the project. For example, group is com.devops ia1. Artifact could be the name of the project, that is demo Gradle. And packaging is in jar, Java version 21. Now, as we said, we are creating a REST API to check if the build and run process are successful or not. So let us add a dependency of Spring Web in order to create a REST API, and then we'll click on generate. So this creates a zip file which we have to extract and open in IntelliJ IDEA. So if we open it, we'll get this project structure. If we expand it, then over here, we can see build.gradle file. So this is the main configuration file of a Gradle project wherein plugins are mentioned, the group, the version, and the description of the project is mentioned. This is the Java version that we had mentioned in the Spring Initializer, Java version 21. Under the repositories section, we have got Maven Central. So this is a global open source repository wherein all the dependencies are present. We can go to website, we can go to Chrome and go to this repository and add any dependency into our uh, Gradle project. So under the dependencies section, the dependencies are added. For example, as is a Spring Boot project, so Spring Starter Web dependencies added. So these are the auto dependencies that have been added already in the project. What if now we have to add another dependency over here? So we can go to the Maven Central repository and add that dependency into build.gradle file. Let's do that. So over here, we have to go to MVN repository. Now, suppose we have to add a Hibernate dependency. So we will search for Hibernate. We will choose any appropriate version. And over here, scripts for various tools are present. So we will go ahead with Gradle. We will copy this and we will add it under the dependency section in build.gradle file. So once we have added it over here, we have to sync all the changes in order to see if the added dependency is functioning properly or not. So let us do that. Over here, you can see there is a build option. So we will click on that build option and then we will sync the changes, the dependency that we just added. And the Gradle will start the process of building. All the dependencies and plugins are being mapped in this process, and the build process is being executed. The build has been successful. So the build process is successful now. As we said, we'll create a REST API to check whether our project is running successfully or not. Before that, if we go to Gradle section over here, then we can see there are various tasks in applications such as boot run and boot test run. Under the build, we have got various tasks present: build, clean, jar, test classes, assemble, and these are the list of tasks that we can perform with the help of Gradle. Now let us create a REST API so that we can check if our project is actually being built and run properly or not. So over here, we will give certain annotations so that the API would be created. For example, it will be giving an annotation of REST controller, and we will add get mapping, sorry, request mapping, hyphen employee, as it is an employee API. And over here, we will have a public method, string method of get employee, in which it will take an input of emp id, and upon successful execution it will return employee found. So over here as well, we will have to give specific annotations such as get mapping, and the endpoint, the API endpoint would be emp id that we are taking as input from the user. Now we have created this small API in order to check if our application is being built and run successfully or not. So let us do that. Let us run our application. Over here, we can see that the application is being built and then run. So the build process has been completed, and now all of the configurations are being displayed. So as we can see that the Tomcat server has been used, and it has been started on port 8080, HTTP 8080. So let us see if our application has been built and run successfully by Gradle or not. So we will come over here and we will type localhost 8080 and employee1. Why? Because our endpoint was employee and we had to mention the employee ID. If we get the output as employee found, then it means that our application is running smoothly and the process of build and run has been executed successfully. So we got the desired output, that is employee found, which means our process has been run successfully. So in a Gradle build lifecycle, there are majorly three stages: initialization, configuration, and execution. Under initialization, we set up the basic project structure, the dependencies, add the plugins. In configuration, we configure and sync those dependencies. In execution, we actually execute the entire bundle of code in order to get the output. So this was the basic Gradle project structure, wherein there was a build.gradle file, which is the main configuration file, and it had its subdirectories, which performed each function of settings, configuration properties, and application properties. Thank you so much.